In this tutorial in the Blackbird Simulations SR-71A, we will be looking at air-to-air refuelling using the KC-135Q tanker in beginner mode. The first thing we need to do is select the air refuel switch, then select defog to open, we need to turn on tank full boost pump and the cross feed. Then turn on the anti-collision to fuselage. We are now ready to take fuel from the tanker. When we are ready, we need to open the flywheel menu, find the tanker menu, click load tanker to get the tanker into the sim and then ready to connect, and then close the flywheel menu again. We can now turn off the pitch and roll channels on the autopilot and fly manually towards the tanker. We now have to find the spawn tanker, which may be left or right of us, but in this case it's ahead of us and just to the right of our forward glare shield. We will have to manoeuvre the SR-71A closer to the tanker before we can start taking on fuel. We have to manually fly this and using throttle and small inputs in the stick and rudder. You will probably find it easier if you place the tanker on the left hand side of your aircraft. This process may take a short while, but it's better to be smooth and accurate rather than racing in and overshooting. In real life, SR-71 pilots would formate with the KC-135Q on the right hand wing and then slot into position behind the boom. But because we are in beginner mode, we won't be doing that. As soon as we get within 80 or 100 meters of the KC-135Q, the tanking will automatically start. As we approach the KC-135Q tanker, you will see on the fuel gauge that the fuel has started to increase, meaning that we are taking on fuel and tanking. In beginner mode, this is about as close as you need to be to the tanker in order to take on fuel. The good thing about this mode is it enables us to practice formation flying with the tanker using small throttle control as well as stick control. I haven't used rudder during this time, but I was using live weather, and as you can see the aircraft rocks around a little bit, but it's still easy enough to formate with the KC-135Q and to take on fuel. A good rule of thumb to keep formation with the KC-135Q tanker is to select a portion of the aircraft where you can see the tanker against, say, the canopy strut, and then you can see whether the tanker is moving forward or up or down. Using small control inputs on the throttle and stick, you can keep your position fairly easily. So if the tanker moves forward, you need to apply more thrust, and if it moves back, you need to take some thrust out. Doing this with small increments and then seeing what reaction you get from the aircraft will help you stay within the limits of where you need to be to tank using this beginning feature. As with all things, this will take some practice. However, you don't need to refuel to practice. You could just load in the tanker and spend some time trying to formate on the tanker. The next time you go to do it may seem a little bit easier, and easier again after that. Muscle memory really serves well when using formation flying in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I will leave this portion of the flying and the video, just so you can see what I'm trying to do whilst formating with the KC-135Q tanker using the SR-71's throttle and stick without the rudder using live weather. As you can see, it's small inputs, changes, keeping position and ensuring that we don't stray far out of where the tanking envelope is. Upon reaching 80,000 pounds of fuel, which we require for our transonic climb and cruise, we peel away by closing the throttle and turning right, trying to find our way back to course. Having moved away from the tanker, we can now enable pitch and roll channels in order to hold our altitude and our heading to stabilise the aircraft. We can also now begin to accelerate towards Mach 0.9, we will then climb to 33,000 feet. We can now close the refuelling door by pressing the air refuelling reset switch. We can then place the default switch to closed, put our beacon switch to anti-collision, turn off the crossfeed and release tank 4 boost pump. We can now open the flywheel menu, disconnect from the tanker and unload the tanker out of the sim, saving us performance. We are now fully fueled with 80,000 pounds of fuel and we have reconfigured the aircraft for flight. We can now accelerate up to Mach 0.9 and begin our transonic climb as scheduled. In the next tutorial we will be looking at the transonic climb and cruise in the Blackbird Simulations SR-71A for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024.